You're listening to the Clean Comedy Podcast with James Creviston and LukeLacoy.
Hey guys, it's LukeLacoy, and this is part 2 with Jerry Corley. Enjoy.
So I know that you've worked with a lot of different comedians. You worked with a lot of different people to get them better. Is there anything that comedians do that you can't fix? Like something that you've tried, a comedian's come to you and said, "Hey, I want to get better," but there's just something you can't fix. Like, I don't know if that's a real thing or not.
Arrogance. Arrogance. No matter anytime, if I say anything that kind of, knocks me up a little bit, that toots my horn, I'll always knock myself down because I don't take myself seriously. I work hard, but I know in my head, the audience is always the final judge. That I can tweak a joke and think I've got it. Wow, this is perfect. And lay it out there, flatline. And then laugh at the fact, like, damn it, you did it again, and laugh at that something missed, and then go look at the material and go, oh, I missed a word or something like that, because technically that joke should work. But arrogance, you can't fix. I coached some dude who was actually took a gig away from me. It was for Kaiser, where you had to talk to 200 doctors in the morning, 200 in the afternoon. And you heard the story, didn't you, James?
Yeah, I love the story.
And he, and so I got pitched to do this gig, and I said, yeah, I can help doctors learn how to use humor in their clinic visits. That's what I do. And they're like, well, what's your fee? I said, $5,000. And the director of Kaiser was like, that's all? And I was like, damn, right? And I said, well, that's for the morning, anyways. So he was like, well, I'm going to run it by the board. And I had a conversation with him. He goes, it's just what we're looking for. I'm going to run it by the board and let him know. And he came back to me a couple weeks later and said, they passed on you. And they went with some mucky muck from Microsoft, or it speaks in front of Oracle and those guys. So they're going to go with him. His name, I go, what's his name? He says, like Dan Diamond or something like that. And I said, well, okay, thanks. He goes, but, I'm going to keep you in mind. I'd love to work with you in the future. I said, that'd be great, Dan. And so, I get a phone call, I kid you not, like 3-4 days later. Hi, my name is Dan Diamond, and I'm looking for coaching on how to use humor. And I got this really important gig that I'm doing for Kaiser, and I want to do well because they're paying me $40,000. And I've got to talk to 200 doctors in the morning, 200 in the afternoon, and show them how to use humor in a clinic visit. Can you coach me on that? And I said, yes, I can. And he said, I'm like, this guy just stole, this is the guy that stole, that's Dan, he stole my gig. And he said, how much what is your fee for that? I go, $5,000. So I want my money back, And so I started working with him, but he had such arrogance. He goes, Jerry, I'm really good at what I do. I don't need to self-deprecate. I said, in front of doctors, you better. You've got to always make the audience feel superior. Yep. That is the key laughter trigger. Is like, make them feel like they're better than some schmuck or some moron. That's why headlines always worked on Leno. Or taking, or when they man on the street ask somebody, hey, what's in the Constitution? What's Article 1? What's the Bill of Rights? What is the First Amendment of the Constitution? What does it contain? What does it contain? That's the one about the guns, right? No, it's not the one about the guns, but we like to laugh at people like that. And do you know the words to the Pledge of Allegiance? And people freeze. And then they get it all wrong. And we laugh at that because we feel superior. And so that's key. If you make the audience feel superior because you messed up, or you make the audience feel superior, some guy in the neighboring town messed up, or you make the audience feel superior, half of them feel superior because, wow, this side of the room's laughing, this side isn't. It's just a little trick you use just to get people involved and gamify the situation, because get them involved because they're kind of dead tonight. But anyway, so this guy wanted to he says, Jerry, I'm very knowledgeable. I'm good at what I do. Here's some videos of me, and see how good I am. I don't need to self-deprecate. Just give me the tools. So I try to work with it, and I was like, I'm getting a headache working with this guy. And I said, here's half your money back. I can't work with you. You're too arrogant. And he said, well, I'm good at what I do. If I'm arrogant, it's because I'm good at what I do. I said, okay, good luck. And 3 months later, I get the call from The guy, he goes, Jerry, it's Dan from Kaiser Permanente, West LA. I said, hey man, good to see you. Well, we tried that mucky muck from Oracle and Microsoft, and he didn't work out too well. So I said, I'm sorry to hear that. He said, so I was wondering if you're still interested in doing what we talked about, coaching some doctors on how to use humor in a clinic visit. And is your fee still $5,000? I said, no, it's $40,000. And he said, yeah, I'm just curious why the increase. And I said, well, you got the mucky muck from Microsoft and Oracle, and you paid him that, and he didn't know what he was doing. I should charge you $50,000. He said, I would pay $50,000. I'm going to run it by the board and see what they say. And they came back and they agreed.
Yeah.
Because to them, that sounded legit. That's the difference with comedians and how we think of money and how Kaiser thinks of money.
Yep.
And that taught me a huge lesson, because I don't care about money, getting rich or anything like that. That's never been a big thing for me. Take care of my kids, make sure their college is paid for, having a good time doing what I love to do. That's all I care about. So it's like that's a big check to get for one day.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I tell this to other comedians, not to brag, but to let them know, if you can do this, you are a commodity. Do you understand? Not a lot of people can do this. And they still talk about that at Kaiser still now. They talk about the tricks and the tools they got to learn how to use comedy. And, I taught them like 2 structures, and that's all I had to teach them. They're like, wow, that's fantastic. I feel empowered.
So the question is, did you teach Ken Jeong? Because he used to be a doctor at Kaiser Permanente.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was still there when I did that event. It was 3 years ago, I think I did that event.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't have been there because he left. Because my mother-in-law actually knew him. They were actually friends. And I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago he left or whatever. So like full time to like go act. That's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And I do try to tell comedians the same thing, and they poo-poo me and go, well, that's not what this is about. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, I want to be Jerry Seinfeld. Rich is like, yeah, but there's steps to it, right? Nobody goes from, the guy scrubbing the floor to the CEO in the same week. That doesn't happen. It's not going to happen in comedy either. You got to work your way up.
Yeah,
And
we were just talking about this today in the class, and the class was, what was the class? The class was, I've been doing so many every week. This week was, what is it? It was, I forgot. It's so funny. It was actually confidence and stage fright.
oh yeah,
Like
yeah, that's right.
how to gain confidence and lose stage fright. And there's science and psychology behind it. And it's a lot like comedy in a way. You can teach yourself confidence, because I wasn't always self-confident. And then there's an angle I use called fake it till you are it. And because if you constantly fake it, every time you take the stage, like you're like, hey, so happy to be, you're in charge. Eventually you start taking the stage and you are, and you go, when did that happen? Because you've been faking it. Your brain starts connecting these synapses, and then that's the way it is. Same thing with confidence in real life. Like, talking to a pretty girl, I used to be really like shy about it. And that used to be, I feel like I'm Dave Delgado, so, with my KISS test, or whatever. And what I learned is that you just, look, if she's not into you, she's not into you. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, why would you be insecure? Once you're insecure, you're going to lose her anyway. So don't be insecure. And so I started to, like, when I met the like really super cute gal, and be like, and she, I'm going to a party tonight. Well, have fun. Have a great time. And then not hear from her all night. And she calls me the next day and I said, how was your party? Oh, it was all right. It was, I said, great. Never once. How come you didn't call me? Never once. You don't say that. You don't go into that world. And then eventually it was like, it didn't bother me, and you're just like, and they go, wow, he's so confident. It's like inside you're going, she hates me.
Well, that was the thing. I took your how to get make money 5 ways writing or whatever, and I'm not going to give it away because I think people should take that class. There's so much to learn. But at the end, you gave what the 5 things were, and I was doing 4 of those 5 things. I'm
Mhm.
working on the 5th one, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm doing it. Didn't even know I was doing it. And it's advice that I also give to a lot of comedians about writing. And they're like, well, that's not performing. It's like, yes, but you can't be on stage 24/7. You can write the rest of the time you're not on stage.
Yes, and on top of that, it all feeds into it.
Thank you.
Like if I'm writing for the Tonight Show, every joke that I'm writing makes me a better writer. When I'm teaching people to write, teaching you learn twice. It makes me a better writer for my screenplays, for my stand-up, for somebody else's stand-up, for somebody I'm writing for. I'm just getting better and better and better and faster. So while you're sitting there just doing the clubs and getting up on stage and riffing every single night, rather than consciously sitting down and saying, I'm going to write a joke about cats. You know, here's a fact about cats. Cats sleep 19 hours a day. Oh, that's great news. That to conserve energy. Cats sleep 19 hours a day to conserve energy? Huh, great joke. Because now that's a setup. You know, I just read this the other day that cats sleep 19 hours a day to conserve energy, which is terrific. Because now when people ask me what my teenage daughter does, I said she's practicing to be a conservationist, you know, and you have a quick joke and it came out of, because you know a concept, you know the technique you get there. All you need are some facts and you could write some jokes. What is this related to? And how do I spin that? But a lot of these guys don't know. Like Bill Burr, you know, he says, you know, he said this once and people, all these comedians bought into it, said he doesn't write his material. And then I go, which is weird because I was just at the Largo last night as he was reading his non-written material from his legal pad, you know? So, but I think what he meant to say was he puts down points, you know, that he wants to cover and he allows himself to freestyle it. That's where he gets his catharsis and freedom from, which is so freeing. And I do that from time to time, but I also I'd rather have a core set and freestyle and then be able to fall back on that and make sure this audience gets that gift of real solid material. And it's just for me now, rather than it being for them. So I make sure that I have the material, because every night you get up there, you're giving that audience a gift. And every night you get up there and they're paying to get in $20 each. They're paying for parking, $40. They're paying $15, $20 a drink, or at Comedy Store, it's $15, $18 a drink, 2-drink minimum. They're paying for it. And so they deserve for you to give them at least your B+ game, you know? And yeah, you can work out, but they also enjoy watching celebrities work out. So Bill's now at that level. But Bill self-admittedly says, first 5 to 7 years of my career, I did 1- and 2-liner jokes because I had to know how to write a joke. Yeah. So now when he gets up there and riffs, he already has some tools to cut, you know, take some shortcuts and get to the jokes a little faster. So he's not just up there riffing, but he's got these comedians up there just riffing and they're not getting anywhere.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, tell a joke, something, at least have a laugh point in your story, you know? It's okay. You can do a story. I know if you took that class where take stories and then use these techniques to go in there and plug in jokes into your stories. So you write the story first. So it's all about the emotional point of view and the catharsis and getting that out there. And then, okay, line by line, every sentence becomes a potential joke. Yep. So you can have joke, aside, tag, topper, act out, come back into the story, you know, joke, aside, tag, topper, act out, come back into the story, do an analogy, go off into the analogy space for a little while, come back to the story. And it makes it so much more interesting, but you've written the story first. And once you have it on the page, you can control it. You know, when it's just out there, we can only keep track of so many ideas at the same time. But if I take that story and I see this line, I can get, you know, I remember writing the story about my wife, and she was getting a C-section because the baby was breech. And so I just wrote the story out, how it happened, sort of chronologically. And then the night before the, you know, when she started, so I wrote it all. And I said, I came home from the Comedy Store. It's like 11:30 at night. We're supposed to be at the hospital at 7 o'clock in the morning next day for the C-section. And she's sitting on the couch watching a little TV. I said, hey, babe, how you feeling? She goes, having some gas pains. And I was like, well, everyone is. It's like $5 a gallon. And, you know, and so, you know, so as I'm writing the story, it may not have come out in the conversation, but in the story now, I can take that, gas pains. There's a double entendre play there, and double entendre doesn't have to be a pun. It's like people say, well, a double entendre is upon. I said, it doesn't have to be upon. It depends on how you deliver the material. And then, but if if you just believe that broad brush painting that every double entendre is upon, then you're not going to get anywhere with it. And you're dropping a really cool tool. So when I write out the story, I can look at every line and say, I said, gas pains. And I was making a sandwich and I thought to myself, well, this is her first child. It's my 5th child. No, I make love the same way George Bush goes to war. I have
That's actually funnier.
strategy. Yeah, it is kind of funnier. So now I can tell people, hey, JamesDCreviston fixed my joke. He said it's funnier. Right. So then I said, hey, are those gas pains intermittent or are they consistent? And she said, I didn't think about that. I think they're intermittent. And I go, because, I have 4 of the kids. Did I say that? And I said, let's go into my office and let's time those gas pains because the computer's in there and there's an app for that, believe it or not. And so I said, besides, I can check my fantasy team. And so that's ambivalence. I plugged that in. And I said, I've never been good with that stuff. The only reason I do it because my sons encouraged me to get into it. And they're good at that stuff. Like my brother, he models his team after the New England Patriots. And my son, he models his team after the Green Bay Packers. I model my team like after Victoria's Secret. It's not the same. And those bitches have no ground game. It's all pass. Yeah, they look at me like, pass. And but that's a simple little thing, telling a story, and you're just dropping in little nuggets of laughter triggers as you're trying to get to the bigger story of the baby, So using all technique to get there. But if you don't know the techniques, if you don't know that there are 13 comedy writing structures and 9 laughter triggers, you don't know.
Well, don't give away all the secret sauce. Where can people?
We can give it away all day long, dude.
I want
because
you.
know what? When we do that, I still does because I can fire hose them with all this information. It'll be so much the brain is going, oh, I got to sit down and figure it out. I need to have a lesson.
Yeah.
Right. I need to sit down and have so it's like, I give it away, man.
Yeah, I know you do.
See, I got almost 100 videos on YouTube and secrets. They're not really secrets. They're available. Sometimes there's different ways to use them that I can share. And there's so much, even doing these a la carte classes just for COVID to give them something that was at least financially feasible and keep comedians active during this time. I got back into researching some of these structures and I did this whole class on paired phrases and it's super powerful. Like you can take a paired phrase, like the brain is hardwired for expectation, right? Create expectation. We know an ending. And if you can then try to get the audience to figure out the ending and then you switch it, that's a very powerful, right? What's a Dice Man used to do that with the limericks.
Yep.
Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet. So what's everybody doing? They're finishing the limerick, eating her curds and whey. And they go, what the fuck is a tuffet? Right? And since it disrupted the ending, we laugh and we can see his character Dice Man going, what the hell is a tuffet? And it works. His character, immaculate comedy character, because he's a buffoon, right? He's this Guido kind of like cuisine guy, guys like, hey, I gotta tell you, when he's like I got all the answers. But then he didn't know that's why they were laughing. He thought they were just laughing because it was because he was using obscenity or using shock value. And that's where his comedy evolved, but there was no surprise because there was no expectation.
Right.
So then you do it like a paired phrase. All you have to do is take something, somebody says something to you, you repeat it back and change the ending, So, Brian Kiley uses that. He says, there's like, my wife and I have been married about 20 years. There's still that tension between her father and me. Like he's always giving me a look like, I know you're having sex with my daughter. And I'm always giving him a look like, barely. So what you have there is the brain creates the expectation that he's always giving me a look like, I'm always giving him a look like. Since that phrase repeats itself, it's going to end in a similar amount of syllables or the same words even the brain actually created, it's just going to repeat itself. That's what the brain thinks. And he takes it and makes it like 2 syllables and about him.
Yeah.
Anthony Jeselnik uses the same thing. And this is what I love about comics, right? Comics go, structure doesn't mean it's jokey jokes. Nobody's like, that's like the, you know, and it's heck. And then and when Jeselnik's playing, they all sit there and stare at Jeselnik and go, he's so amazing.
Yep.
He's using structure.
Yep.
Very immaculate structure, usually a reverse or a paired phrase when he does a similar joke to Brian Kiley when he says, I'm staying at my girlfriend's house over the holidays. Her parents won't let us stay in the same room. Like her father's giving me a look like, I don't trust you, pal. And I give him a look like, trust me, pal. I'm your daughter. You know? And he has a comeback to dad, whereas Kylie had the, self-deprecation, same structure on the joke. If you put them side by side, very similar structure, but it's just taking that phrase and knowing that that's available to you. So if a comedian, if I'm doing a show and some guy in the audience heckles me, it happened one time, this guy heckled me. It's like very cold room. The MC just did his material, didn't pay attention and warm up the room. Then the first comedian gets up there, next comedian gets up there. I get up there, still kind of cold. I go, you guys know we're doing comedy here tonight, right? That's why we're here, right? And it's like, you know that. I'm like, what are you here for, sir? And he says right to my face, I'm pretending to look at a comedian. So what do is I repeat it because I know what do humans do? When we hear an insult, we don't want anybody else to hear that insult. Besides, I have to repeat it because the people in the back of the room can't hear this dude. He's talking to me and he doesn't have the mic. So I go, oh, ouch, dude. Oh my God. Did you hear what this dude said? Creates a hook. Oh, what'd he say? What'd he say? He said, I'm pretending to look at a comedian. Dude, twist the knife, why don't you? And I repeat it, like now it doesn't hurt. There's no pain there, right? I said, pretending to look at a comedian. Good one. Well, but what a coincidence too, because I'm looking at you thinking I'm pretending to look at an asshole. And it's like, I'm just kidding, dude. I'm just kidding. I'm not pretending. So where were we? Right? And everybody's, and then the room all of a sudden opens up because that structure always works, right? You take that paired phrase, create that expectation. They have no choice except to expect it. And that's what magicians know. That's why they can do this and go, hey, look at that. Because they know your brain creates acute expectations. Now, comedians know that, and that's their superpower, But
I love it.
yeah. So anyway, those are some of those little neat things.
So you have all the comedy a la cartes going. Where can people look that stuff up? Where can they see those things at?
They can come to a standupcomedyclinic.com because that's where the joke doctor would hang out, right? A stand-up comedy clinic. And so standupcomedyclinic.com, and there's a banner that pops up and says $25 comedy classes during COVID. So come over and join us for the fun.
And it's totally worth it. And then if you happen to miss it, it's not like you're missing out because you have them all recorded, so you can buy them and watch them that way. It's not as good. I mean, it is great, but it's not as good as being interactive in the class because you can learn something that way. But
you can
I
ask
bought
the
some
questions,
of the $2 ones or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, and you bought some of the ones. I mean, even those ones that are recorded, they're
great.
And again, we dropped the price for COVID to $20.
Yeah.
So it's like, comedians. They still want to work out, but they, it's like money's tight for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I get it. And so I'm trying to do whatever I can and still keep the lights on in my place. And doing a lot of corporate Zoom shows now, which is a lot of fun. It was weird at first, but now I got it. I figured it out and it works. And, being able to use this camera, to, you know what I'm saying? That sort of thing. It's like, we got to do it this time during the apocalypse, and you're using this as now the camera becomes your play partner rather than, people, and that gets you comfortable doing that. There's auditions where people can't look at the camera. They don't know how to talk to the camera like it's a person, and so that's one of the things they teach you in acting. It's like, look at the lens and pretend it's a person. And they're like, I don't know how to do it. So that's why actors struggle all the time. But then you can learn a new skill while you're doing this, book some commercials while you're chasing your stand-up gig. It's all about creating multiple revenue streams so that you can stay solvent, chasing this, elusive dream,
Preach. That's exactly what I keep preaching all the time to everybody is you should learn to write, you should learn to film, you should learn to edit, you should do everything you want. Actually, a lot of my stuff that I've done is because you did it. Like when Stretch came out and that was your thing, like you were promoting that hard. I was like, oh my gosh, I should write a screenplay now. And like it started me writing more stuff. And so I appreciate you. You're a person I've been stalking like all the time, and you don't even know that I'm stalking you. So
Well,
it feels good.
But it's, and I'm glad you followed up on it because I try to do as many of these as possible if people ask, just to sort of spread the love, man. I mean, this art form is so amazing. And to be able to have a control on it and be able to do it at will and then make people laugh and make them forget about something they had that day. And that's a kind of it's such a cool thing to be able to do, and to be able to help all the comics get better, and then have them send you a card with a bottle of Maker's Mark, hint, that says, thank you for my career. Oh my God, there's no feeling that could replace that, especially after you've been married 15 years, there's no feeling that can replace that. So it's, and think about it. Stretch was the first screenplay I wrote,
Really? It was physically the first one you ever wrote?
Mhm.
You lucky dog.
And it was a matter of, and you know what really helped me?
Not lucky, but
Writing jokes.
Yeah.
What are jokes? Beginning, middle, and end.
Yep.
Set up, misdirection, punchline. Act 1, act 2, act 3. Set up, misdirection, creates the tension, drop the hook, right? And then, boom. It's like, and then you have that tension there makes the audience sit there on the edge of their seat. That's the same with a joke,
Yep.
And you can, and now you do that and you start writing your whole act to create hooks that you have these little tension points, just like Game of Thrones used to do that all the time and create those, oh, what it roll credits now, right? And it had us on the hook. And so that's how you tell story to keep people compelled. So there's a simple way to do that just by asking a question. Sometimes you say that in your story and you go, like, when I want to talk about and I don't like doing Trump jokes because it gets people too tense.
Yeah.
But I can do them if I make it one step removed. I said, man, I did like 3 Trump jokes at the Comedy Store the other night, and some dude wanted to fight me. Just got up, approached the stage, and wanted to fight me. And the thing that made me mad was the jokes were funny, and they got laughs in the room. The audience makes the decision, not me, right? So they laughed, and it's like, this guy comes at the stage, and it's like, like he's going to fight me. I go, hey, if you're going to puff your chest, bring it, bitch. Well, and the bouncer already grabbed him. And so, right. But then, so I'm telling the story. And what I'll do is I'll tell the story of how this guy wanted to fight me. And now what's the audience doing? What were the jokes, man? What were the jokes?
Yeah.
So now they want to hear the joke because they're experiencing FOMO. So it doesn't matter if they're Republicans or not. They asked to hear the jokes because of the story. And on top of that, since it's one step removed and it's this other audience, we're superior to that other audience. We're not going to fall into that trap and get mad about it. So you're playing the psychology on them, just like you would in a story. So all of that joke writing over the years with tension and release and story and what hooks people helped me with writing Stretch. And so then when I wrote the story, then Joe Carnahan came out as the director, and he did a lot of the screenplay changes. I thought he did a great job with it. And I was so happy and to get it done. And now it's a credential, so that was such a neat experience. And so my friend Dave Connolly, who's a director and a writer and now doing a film with John Cleese and Kelsey Grammer in London.
That's awesome.
And which is really exciting because he's been putting stuff into the pipeline and had some hits and misses and almosts, and then bam, he finally gets another film done, and it's a big one. So really good for him. But he was like, "Oh, you're getting. I want you to meet my friend." It was like I think he wrote Battlestar Galactica or something like that. He said we had lunch, and he had a British accent. He goes, "So David tells me you're getting." I would love to be getting now, it's like, take the deal, and so it was a big lesson. Take the deal, get the movie made. Now that's your jumping off point. Now you have a credential. Now you can get meetings. Now the business sees you as being a little more legit. Yeah. So that teaches the whole lesson of collaboration. We got a film made, and it's a fun film, and Universal canceled distribution 8 weeks before they were committed to do like $28 million worth of distribution. And then 8 weeks right before, which is like right on the deadline, they're supposed to do the, the promotion like 8 weeks before the release. They pulled it.
Oof.
And I remember Joe going, they've never pulled a film in this wing of Universal in the entire history of that studio. I'm going to call their bluff. Well, we set the precedent, and, but it's still cool. We got a film made. And I'm, and it was a lot of fun. So now on to other ones, and a couple more have sold, but none of them have been made.
Right.
And then maybe there'll be another one that's just like, boom, that's it, and they make it. And people say, hey, if you ever do that, are you gonna stop teaching comedy? I said, I don't think so. I love this. I love teaching it. I love writing it. I love performing it. I love writing screenplays. I think I'm in the best place in my life right now. And it's like, and happy as could be.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to come on and talk to us. I encourage everybody to come take some of your classes. I learned so much. I took the late night writing class. I've taken how to be the most successful comedian no one's ever heard of.
Right.
I've taken a bunch of your classes. I love them. I love your
how to
stuff.
scale when you're on the road. I mean, scale the right way. If you're going to merch, you got to merch the right way. What is this $2 and $3 profit margins on your t-shirts, guys? Come on. There should be, $14 profit margins, but comedians don't think like business people.
Yep.
So and then
I have an MBA, so that's where I started at that point saying like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I have to figure out how to make money off it, because you could start a hobby and not make any money. But if you're going to continue in a hobby, you can't lose money at it every single time. And right now, if you go to the club every night, you're getting up every night, you either, if you're paying for an open mic, you're paying for a drink, you're paying for parking or whatever it is, you're going to lose money. So you got to figure out how to make money on the other side.
When you create that revenue stream, it's like with the book out there and some courses out there and the online courses out there, and that people are enjoying, and I'm always revising and improving. And when that happens, you now have, you have money while you sleep, so with that and residuals from other things I've done, when those come in, it's money while you sleep.
Yep.
And so that's where it really helps, and as an MBA guy, you get it, man, money while you sleep, that's the key. Yep. The subscription model. I remember Bill Gates talking about this like 12, 15 years ago. I said, where do you see Microsoft going next? And he said, online software. Yep. And they were like, what? Yeah, we'll actually deliver the software online. And so you don't really have discs, and it makes piracy, very difficult. And the subscription model is the way to go.
That's what they do.
And that's what they're doing, man. I think it was even, about 15 years ago. I thought I heard that video, that audio thing he was talking about. And it's like him and Steve Jobs were both, they both get credited for coining the phrase "content is king."
Yep. And
then it was the online subscription model, and it's like the software that you now get online, which is scary, because if you watch like Social Dilemma, and they say they know everything you're doing, and I'm thinking, I've been working with Google Docs now for about 7 years. Everything I've written, jokes. They know. They have all of it.
There's some guy at Google telling your jokes in the lunchroom to people.
Exactly, right? Get this. So my wife's an airline pilot, right? And she uses an iPad. They have iPads. So she flies for Alaska. And she said she was flying with a captain. The captain said, I lost my iPad. So I called the IT department and I said, I lost my iPad. And they said, well, we can track it. We'll just go find your iPad. They go, oh, turns out it's at this address. He goes, that's my home. And he goes, you want us to turn on the camera so you can see where it is?
Nope.
No, never. And my wife's going, they could turn on my camera anytime.
Yep.
Oh, so yeah, that is like, that becomes a nightmare, right? I remember nobody really related to the NSA. They talking about the NSA, intercepting your texts, and nobody was paying attention. Oh, it's part of the Patriot Act. And then John Oliver was like, they're storing your dick pics. And everybody's like, oh, our dick pics. So that's when you got to sometimes hit that one note that makes them all wake up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Make sure you guys go check out Jerry. Go check out his YouTube. Check out his site, standupcomedyclinic.com. I think it's at Joke Doctor on Twitter, right? Is that right?
Yeah, at Joke Doctor on Twitter. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll engage with people, man. I've like people have asked me questions and
Yeah.
hey, I need help with a joke, and I've sat there and tweaked a joke for people. So it's like I like engaging with people on that stuff.
You were the man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And this is
Thanks
like
for
a dream
having
come
me
true
on,
for me.
man.
No, I appreciate it. Luke, where can people find you at?
LukeLacoy on the internet.
On the internet.
Yeah, Luke. right. Luke. What's it? Luke L.
Yeah, Lukey L.
Lukey L.
We should change your handle. And you can find me at JamesDCreviston.com or ComedyPreneur.com. That's where I write.
ComedyPreneur.
Yeah, ComedyPreneur, like entrepreneur.
Enunciation radio guy.
Sorry, ComedyPreneur.com.
We want to hear that. ComedyPreneur. I love that that moniker when you said ComedyPreneur, and because you had the background in the class, I was like, oh, I love that. That's cool, man.
Yeah, and it's all about the business of comedy, learning how to do things to make money. And because my motto on there is turn your funny into money, because it's something that's just, I think we all need to do, especially as comedians. We got to find ways to create revenue. So I appreciate people like you. I appreciate all the things that you do for all comedians. So thank you everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and go check out
Thanks.
Jerry. Thank you so much.